recording. So welcome everybody. So we have Adam here today. We have Sienna. We have Claire. We have Clara. We have Corbin. We have Micah, Emma, Tristan, and somebody is arriving. And so we'll see who that is in a minute. Um, just a couple of announcements and nothing earth shattering, but I just wanted to let you know that today what we're going to do is a whole group look at all of these different products that you guys are making, so that the entire group can give opinions and help make it better. But then on Monday, we're going to break it down and we're going to meet just individually with the group that's writing the letter and then only with the group that's writing the speech and so forth. So on Monday, let's have the group. And so you might want to write this down. Of course, I'll send it out 8 million times before then. But if you are writing the letter, you're going to come from 9:30 to 10. If you are part of the speech, you're going to come from 10 to 10:30. And then if you are writing the play, you'll come from 10:30 to 11. So that Monday will be a little bit more individualized. But today we're going to help everybody as a whole group and just kind of refresh our memory on what we are doing.
Excuse me, Miss Bruns.
Yes.
I did my part of the letter last night, but I wasn't sure how to submit it to you. Or
Oh,
does
okay.
it just automatically go to you?
Oh, well, if you typed it on that document, then yes, it'll automatically show up on the document.
Okay,
Yeah.
you did.
Okay. Claire, yes, you have a question?
Yeah, when does the play meet on Monday?
The play, you can see it right here. The play is from 10:30 to 11.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So, just, little reminder, you guys are awesome kids, so not a big deal, but just remind yourself to always be respectful, responsible, and ready. And the biggest thing for our grade levels is to remember to keep our chat on topic and to keep our use of the camera appropriate. So if we have our camera on, just make sure it's so that you're raising your hand, and that's really all you're doing. Okay. So, our world class outcomes. So, basically, our goal for this entire project that we're working on, and I'm just going to use the kid language because it's easier for you to understand. So, we might as well. And we came up with it together. So, our first goal is to look at other people's views on issues around the world and make our own point of view. So, all of you have been looking at different viewpoints on space exploration. Okay. And then our second goal, or world class outcome, is to reason by making an inference and looking at numbers to solve problems. So this means really looking at numbers and data, I should say. Data to solve any problems. Okay. Any questions on our world-class outcomes and the personal world-class outcome you selected for yourself? Are we all pretty clear on those?
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Okay, good. All right. Well, it's just important to always review those so that you know why you're doing what you're doing. All right. So let's just kind of review what we've been working on. We have something called the Collaborative Task Library. Really, it's just a resource library. And if you remember, you all helped me create it. So let's pull it up and show you what it looks like.
I haven't put anything in there yet.
That's okay. Most people have. But when you're ready, you can send it to me and then I'll put it in there because you guys only have viewing
Okay.
rights on this. Okay,
Okay.
so here's our resource bank. And we have all of these different articles and data and documents in support of space exploration. And then we have some data and articles that are against space exploration. Both sides are important to note in your letter, speech, or play. Although I know all of you want to continue space exploration. I know that that's what all of you chose. Remember all of these articles, and I'm just kind of reviewing what we touched on a couple weeks ago. All of these articles are full of facts and opinions, and both have a very important place in a persuasive product. If I just wrote nothing but facts in a letter to an editor, it would be pretty boring. On the other hand, if I wrote nothing but just opinions on what I thought and felt, it wouldn't be very strong and it might not get a lot of support. So it's important to be able to pull out both facts and opinions. So, here's a question that a lot of you had. Do I have to go into every single one of these articles and pull out a fact and opinion from every single one? No, that would be crazy. I mean, you can see that all of these articles are pretty long. So all you need to do is find one that you really like. So maybe you liked document number 2. I'm just going to give that a go here. And when it comes up, let's say that this particular piece of evidence really spoke to you, that we have all of these different really cool inventions because we have explored space and some of that technology has transferred into really cool inventions like the one you see here. If this is something that you wanted to use, then this is what you would quote, okay? Of course, that one was kind of short, so maybe that wasn't the best example. But as you can see, there's plenty of them for you to choose from. So let me turn on your microphones again and ask, do you guys have any questions on this resource bank and what you're supposed to do with it?
No.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
Nope.
Did I hear a yes?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. So yeah, this is
Nope.
where this
Yes.
whole resource bank.
Nada.
Nada. Okay, good. This whole resource bank is where you find your evidence. Okay, you don't pull your evidence out of the sky. You actually come and pull it out of these documents that we have all contributed to. Okay. All right, so let's go back. And let's go back and start with our rubric that we've come up with together. Now, a rubric is how you are going to be graded. Okay, so we need to know what we're doing and how we're going to be graded. Okay. Here are all the, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on your microphones again, and when I'm done, I'll turn them back on. Here are the different categories that you're going to be graded on. Your organization of your letters, speech, or play. And that's pretty standard. I mean, anything that you write has to be organized, right? I mean, that should make sense. Do you have reasons? Now, notice I didn't put, do you have facts? And I didn't put, do you have opinions? I put, do you have reasons? Those can be facts or opinions. They just have to be evident and clear. And then, of course, you got to make sure that you're paying attention to your grammar and your spelling, which is actually very easy when you're typing because it underlines it in red when you have a misspelling, right? Okay. And here are our last 2 categories that we're going to pay special attention to. These are the ones that you helped me develop with your own input. Your world-class outcomes, so those goals that we went over at the very beginning. Have you met those goals? Did you use evidence and data to support whatever viewpoint you are fighting for? And then your individual efforts. Did you contribute to your group product? Or did you, maybe just kind of sit back and not? So we all know what it's like to be a good team member. And sometimes team members, and we'll talk about this with one of our products, sometimes team members disagree, and that's okay. It's just, you have to come to a compromise, and that's true in life, right? Sometimes you don't always get 100% of what you want, but when you're working with a team, you have to learn to maybe get 50% of what you want, and the other person can get 50% of what they want, and then everybody's happy. But the big thing is, did you try to work together? Did you try to come to an agreement? Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn your microphones back on, and let's see if you have any questions so far.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
No. Nope. Nada. Zip. No.
No, they did not.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm gonna
Nope.
leave. I'm gonna leave this rubric up because as we look at these different products, we're gonna go back to the rubric, and you're gonna tell me what you would give the products so far. Would you give them a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1? Okay. All right. So let's go back. Okay. Am I going too fast for anybody? Is there anybody who needs me to kind of catch them up on what we're doing, or are we good? Thumbs
I'm
up.
good.
We're
Thumbs up.
good.
We're good.
Nope.
Good.
Okay.
Still no.
Perfect. You guys are so cute. All right. So, as you know, we had these 3 different groups. And so I know, not all of you worked on the letter and not all of you worked on the speech. And so you might think, oh, great, this is my time to tune out while we're going over some other group's product. Definitely not your time to tune out. You are going to be helping this group improve their product. Okay. So let's start with the letter. It's first. Okay, and it's coming up. It's taking forever, but it's here. Okay. A little hint for everybody. Anytime your teacher gives you a major hint about what should be included, you should look at it and click on it. It's a major hint, right? So take a look. Our goal or our thesis, what point are you trying to argue, needs to be in the letter. You need to have your reasons. And of course, that was in our rubric that we had good reasons. Fact or examples, and I would call an example an opinion. Okay. And then a strong conclusion. So I won't spend too much time on that, but it is definitely linked to this so that you can always go back and look at it. Now I have a little video that's going to help us really get started with the letter. I'm not going to, well, on Monday, I'm going to go through the entire thing with just the people who are working on the letter. But today, for the whole group, we'll start with maybe the first paragraph or so. Okay. So let's start with how to start off a good persuasive letter. All of these videos on the left-hand side here that you see, by the way, are really good. But this one that I linked, as well as this second letter I linked, or second video, I should say, I think are really helpful. Okay, are we ready? Okay.
How do you hook your reader from the very beginning of your letter? Writers, in this lesson, you will learn how to draft a strong opening paragraph by using a provocative question. Let's take a minute to quickly review the 3 ways to begin a letter. Remember that a convincing argument is engaging from the very beginning. So writers can start their letters in 3 different ways. The first way is by telling a story. The second way is by asking a provocative question, and provocative means thought-provoking. In other words, asking a question that makes the reader stop and think, I wonder. And a final way to begin a letter is by making a brave statement. And it's important to keep these things in mind because I want to warn you about a common mistake that writers sometimes make. Writers sometimes begin a letter by simply stating their thesis. And
their thesis is basically what they believe. So let's go and look and see what we have so far, okay? Okay, so what we have so far is, Dear Mr. Editor, I am writing this letter in support of the space program. Okay, so I think, and this is a first stab at it, guys, so don't, take offense if we change your work. We're just doing this to make it better so that you get a better grade and learn more. But what I think I see here is that this person kind of made that common mistake. They just came right out and stated their thesis. Do you guys agree? Yeah, okay. Okay, so what we can do to change it, do you remember what the 3 different ways were to start a persuasive letter? I'll turn your microphones on. Anybody want to speak up and tell me what 3 different ways we could start this and make it better would be? Go ahead, Emma. Oh, I thought you said yes, you wanted to speak up. Sorry, your microphone's on, but um, let's see. Anybody else want to name one of the different or one of the three different ways that we can start this persuasive letter?
Ask a thought-provoking question.
There you go. Ask a thought provoking question, or we could tell a story, or we could have some kind of really strong emotional type of statement. So I think one of the easier ways to do it would be to ask a question or to even tell a story because we have a good story about Moon, Mars, and beyond, right? And space exploration. So which one do you guys want to do? This is completely up to you. Do you guys want to maybe ask a thought provoking question?
Like, how about, like, what can we do to raise space exploration funding?
How about, let me change it just a little. What could we do as a country to improve space exploration funding? Okay, that's pretty good. Um, I don't know if it would totally, make somebody interested if they read that question. It might be, what if we go back to all of those inventions that have happened because of space exploration? Could we ask a question about that somehow? Like maybe, what would the world be like without some important inventions like the
Rover?
hmm, I was thinking the heart pacemaker. What
Oh,
other inventions have come from space exploration technology?
satellites?
Uh-huh. Oops. Satellites. How do you spell satellites? See, this is okay. I guess I know I didn't get it right. See, this is the beauty of typing into a Word document. It underlines it in red when you misspell something, right? All right.
Hmm.
Let's see. Satellites. How do you spell
I
satellites?
think it has two L's.
Does it have two L's? I don't know. Oh, no. All right. Well, see, here's a lesson. When you are typing this, you would just go, you would type into Google satellites, and guess what'll come up? The correct spelling. This machine. Satellites. Okay, so you just cut and paste it, and then there you go. You go back to your letter. Oops, where's my letter? Here we go. And look how easy that is to have the correct spelling. It's taken a while, but it'll paste. Okay. And I just got a message from Corbin saying the thing on Mars. What was the invention on Mars? What was that? I don't remember exactly what that invention was.
Was it the rover?
It could have been the Mars rover, and that's okay. So why is this not typing? Okay. All right, so that's a pretty good, and that didn't paste. That's okay. That's pretty good starts to our letter. Let's see, which question should we leave? Because we could really only start with one. What would the world be like without some important inventions like the rover and the heart pacemaker? I wouldn't like to find out. Or what could we do as a country to improve space exploration funding? So, which
Well, what
question do you
we
think
could
is stronger?
do. Oh, Miss Bruns, what I think we could do to raise space exploration is like more funding from the president.
Okay.
Because the president is in control, so if we ask him, I
Oh,
mean, not like not for real, but well, yeah, for real.
All
What I mean
right.
is like trying to ask the president to continue funding.
Okay, so that would be one of our supporting reasons I think that we would find in the body of our letter. Do you agree? That's how we'll get more money. So maybe we can have that down here somewhere. Perfect. And Lucas, I see your hand up. Go ahead, Lucas.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, he does look frozen, doesn't he? Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Well, maybe he could type into the chat. Or maybe he can sign back out and sign back in. Okay, but I'm going to just tell you that I think the first question is maybe a little bit stronger. Another way we can start this letter is to tell a story. We could talk about what we just did with Moon, Mars, and Beyond. We can start off by telling that story and how important that funding was in order to save those astronauts. But let's go back to our video and keep watching. Okay.
This is boring and it's not engaging the reader from the very beginning. That's why it's important to hook your reader from the very beginning by using one of those strategies that I just mentioned. And in this lesson, we're going to learn how to ask a provocative question to engage our reader from the very beginning.
Maybe we'll
And you
change our
can do this
question
by
again.
following 3 steps. The first is by rereading your thesis statement. The second step is to then think of a question. And the third is to draft your paragraph. Okay, so let's start off and reread our thesis statement. You'll remember that these.
Okay, let's do that. Our thesis statement was, I am writing this letter to support our space program. So that was our first step. Our second step was to think of a question. What would life be like without some important inventions like the Land Rover, I should say, and the heart pacemaker? I wouldn't like to find out. And what was our third step? To draft our paragraph. So maybe I can combine these up here and make it back into that paragraph. Okay.
Statement that I wrote in a previous lesson was that recess should be at least 30 minutes every day. So that was my opinion. And then after my thesis statement, I listed those 3 reasons that supported that thesis statement. Okay, so now that I've reread my thesis statement, I need to keep in mind that this thesis statement should actually be an answer to a question that I'm coming up with. All right, so let's move on to that step, the second step, thinking of a question. And I can actually use sentence starters like have you ever or do you feel to help me along. Okay, so if extending recess to
Okay, so I see a hand up. Claire, go ahead.
I couldn't hear what she was saying for half the time. It got like really crumbly and then it started to echo.
Oh, okay. Well, I know sometimes the technology is kind of cuts in and out, but she everything she's saying is basically showing up written up here. So if you're just kind of reading along, you're catching the gist of it.
Okay.
Okay.
30 minutes every day is the answer to a question that I need to come up with. That's almost like the answer to a problem I need to come up with. So if I think of why we need to have recess for 30 minutes every day, it's because kids need to get their energy out, because they're too talkative in school, or because they're maybe getting a little bit restless. So let me think about if I were actually a principal. And
Okay, so she is saying that your question should basically, the answer should be what you are fighting for. So in this case, we are fighting for space exploration funding. So our question, that should be what our answer would be. What would the world be like without some important inventions like the Land Rover and heart pacemaker?
Like, I think I know.
Okay. I
Well,
wouldn't.
without the Land Rover, then we probably couldn't get to some planets that are out of our reach.
Absolutely. And I know that.
Or that can't really sustain humans.
Right. And honestly, I think this will be a job for the people who are writing the letter. They need to go and find maybe a couple more inventions to add to this letter to make it stronger. Because only having two, and as well as satellites, isn't probably enough. But the answer to our question is, well, without space exploration funding, we would never know because we would not have these inventions. So we're on the right track.
Or a teacher. I would probably be frustrated by a talkative class or by a restless class. So let me try using those sentence starters to come up with a question. Have you ever, how about this? Have you ever been frustrated by a talkative class in the hallway? That's a great one. And what about do you feel? Do you feel annoyed that your class can't sit still? Okay, so I've got those two great questions.
Lucas, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
What is the peacemaker thing or whatever that thing
Oh, a
is?
pacemaker. Those are for people who have heart problems. It's kind of like you have to have open heart surgery, and then they put in a pacemaker that makes your heart um, beat correctly, basically, and keep pace.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's a lot of different cool inventions, and if we want to know more, we can go back to our resource bank. And I know one of these documents has more about cool inventions that have come from the technology from space exploration. The same type of technology, I should say.
Now, my next step is to actually choose one of those questions to begin my paragraph. And to do that, I need to consider my argument and my purpose. Well, I know that I'm writing this letter to my principal and I'm trying to convince her to actually make recess longer. So she's actually not in classrooms that much, so she doesn't see students being restless, but she does hear chatty classes in the hallway. So I think that first question, have you ever been frustrated by a chatty class in the hallway, would be a great one.
Okay, and so they're thinking about our audience. So, our audience for all of these products, our audience is just our community members. So, I think our question about inventions would speak to community members because it's something that all of us use, all of those different inventions. Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping up what I'm doing with the collaborative letter group. And I'm just going to let you know, collaborative letter people group, um, that those videos are really going to help you, continue on with this letter. This last video that I've linked right here is going to help you with a conclusion, which this letter does not have so far. So hopefully by
Miss
Monday,
Bruns,
yes, go ahead.
can I read my space exploration government funding support?
Yeah, actually, you're going to be next. We're going to go into the speech next.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So hopefully by Monday, we can have a little bit more from the letter group. And then when I meet individually with the letter group, we can continue, um, making this better and reviewing our rubric. So far, let's take a look at these last two these last two categories. And remember, it goes 4, 3, 2, 1. You can't see them when I scroll down. What would we give for world-class outcomes? Are both outcomes clear so far? Are multiple views acknowledged, but the viewpoint is clear to the audience? Is there any data so far to support? Let's go back and kind of look. Let's see. I'm not seeing any data. I am seeing reasons, and that's good. I don't see anything about the other side, and the other side is against space exploration. I don't see them acknowledged. So maybe we're over here. Maybe we're not quite at a 4 yet. There's some evidence of the world class outcomes. The group viewpoint is clear that we want funding for space, but there's maybe not enough data or evidence to support it yet. Yes, Jaden.
I already did my part of the letter.
I know it's great. Thank you.
Yeah, all
Right
that's
now,
left is for the
yeah,
rest of my team to do the letter.
Exactly. Right now, we are working to make it better, and we'll continue that on Monday. Let's look at individual efforts. And you guys, you don't have to speak up, but just know if you're part of the letter group, um, have you added to the product? Have you collaborated with your group members? Um, or if you're more at a 3, have you participated at all? Or maybe you contributed very little so far. Or if you have a 1, maybe you haven't done anything at all. Um, and maybe you're at a 1 right now. So you have to think about that individually, okay? I'm not going to call people out in front of everybody else. But here's one way to collaborate with your group members. When you go into your document that you're all typing on, do you see this button up here called comments? It says comments. This is a great place for you to write in questions to your group members or comments or things that maybe you think should be changed, and you would say that in a nice way, okay? So any questions on how to collaborate with your group?
No,
Okay. All right, so
nada.
we are going to move into the speech group. Okay, so are we ready? All right, so this is the group writing the speech. Let's go to what we have so far. That takes a while. All right. So first thing I see when I look at this is I see 2 different types of font and formatting. So the first thing I would do is right away make it all the same thing. Okay, so let's make it all the same type of font. Let's make it all the same type of spacing. Let's see, how do I go to spacing? Format, line spacing. Let's all do just single spacing. Not sure why that didn't work on the bottom there. Huh. All right. I see that we have like a title kind of in the middle, so I'm going to get rid of that. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody for a second. We got somebody with a doorbell and a dog. Okay, so what I would do to make this look a little better is I would go in and delete all of these extra spaces so it kind of all flows a little bit better and looks nicer. That's the very first thing I would do. Then I would notice that since this is a speech, and we don't know who would be giving the speech yet, I would take out any names, okay, and we'll just kind of leave it nameless. And then as a student, I would go up here and say, oh, wow, Mrs. Bruns has given me some videos that will help me with this speech. So let's look at some of the videos, at least just a clip from each one. And then we'll go and try to make at least this first part better. Okay, you all with me? All right, here we go. All right, so this is a persuasive speech. Okay, it's taking a minute to load, but it'll be here. Here we go.
How do I develop a strong thesis statement for my persuasive speech? In this lesson, you will learn how to develop a strong thesis statement for your persuasive speech by revising your thoughts into statements. Let's review. A thesis statement is an opinion that you care deeply about. We need to keep this in mind when we are developing our thoughts into statements. Hamburgers are the best lunch food is not a strong thesis statement because it's not something that I care deeply about. I like hamburgers and think they taste good, but it doesn't compare to how I feel about animal rights. Let's also review where we're at in the writing process. Step 1 is to generate ideas. Step 2 is to write drafts. And step 3 is to revise and edit.
Okay, so right now we're kind of in stage 2. We've already generated ideas for our speech in favor of space exploration, and right now we're writing our draft. Today we're going to start moving into revising and editing, and we'll continue revising on Monday.
Step 1, generating ideas. A common mistake. When we are brainstorming for ideas, sometimes we recall stories. I remember the time when thoughts. These stories are great places to generate ideas, but are not included in a persuasive speech. An example is teaching is the toughest job around. May have come from a story, but it's still a thesis statement. One time my teacher took us to the zoo is still a story and is not. Our lesson has 3 steps. The first step is observe in your imagination a person or place. Step 2 is reflect on your observations by questioning. Step 3 is revise your thoughts into a complete thesis statement. Step 1, observe in your imagination a person or place. I think I'll focus on my sister.
So she's focusing on her sister, and we know that our speech is not going to be about our sister. We can maybe focus on the astronauts that we just saved in our mission. Maybe that would be something to focus on.
We're very close, but we tend to be very competitive. I think I will be able to think about a lot of past experiences, stories that will help me develop a thesis statement. Okay, well, I've already have some thoughts about her. We're very close, and she's very competitive. I think this is because she's the middle of the 3 of us. And oh boy, do I have stories about her. She's always taken school very seriously, and when she was in 4th grade, there was a competition for the student with the highest grade in class. She became obsessed. Not only did she work all hours of the night to study and complete her homework, but she even tried to sabotage, ruin the other top kids' chances of winning.
Okay, so this person's going on about a story about their sister. In this case, we would be going on about a story. Oops, not from here. A story or some data or an article from our resource bank. That's what we would be reflecting on, the kind of story or background knowledge, okay? Or even our Moon, Mars, and Beyond mission could be a story.
Still feels bad about that. Without rehashing bad memories with all the details, I'll just say that this boy never found his multiplication chart. It all ended up that she did not learn a whole lot that year and needed to go to a tutor for the next year. Grades and winning became more important than learning. Step 2, reflect on your observations by questioning. Okay, my question should lead me away from specific stories about my sister into some big ideas that I can say about people in general. This is how we work a thesis statement out of a story. We wiggle out specifics and go to the general. My sister my sister has an obsession with winning, and grades were more important than learning. I think this is something that I can say about many people. Yes, definitely. Lots of people are competitive, and especially when they are young, it's hard to keep a clear head.
So instead of talking about sisters and being competitive, could we say that many people have an opinion about space exploration? I think yes, we could. We can generalize and say that there's a lot of different people who have very strong feelings about how to spend money.
Step 3, revise your thoughts into a thesis statement. So I'm going to use my reflection ideas. Let's see. I want to look at general statements. So who could this be about? Students? No, school. It's really schools that make this happen in my mind. And I'm going to go with should not. I think her obsession might have been sparked by reward and not learning, but prizes like being number 1. All right, so here's my statement. Grades should not be rewarded with prizes in school. Yes, that.
Okay, so that's the thesis statement for this particular speech. Our speech is going to have a lot more to do with what we think about money and space exploration. So let's look at what we have so far. So far, we have in this speech, I will tell you why I think we should continue to explore space instead of spending money on other things. Well, that's not too bad. But I think we can make that a stronger thesis statement by using the same ideas. So let's start it off by saying the most important way to spend government funds is by continuing space exploration. So basically, I just talked about not spending money on other things. And I took out all of this fluffy language. You don't need to write things like, in this speech, I'm going to tell you. In this story, I'm going to tell you about. That's just not catchy for the reader. So we would take that kind of stuff out. And then we would go back up for, oh, well, actually, we jump right into our examples. So that's great. So let's see, we probably have a couple different reasons all in this speech. What we would need to do as part of the speech group is make sure that there are clear breaks in between each one of these different reasons. So we can't just start talking about restaurants and then jump into um, this new technology and that kind of thing. So we're going to need to make sure that it flows. So let's just spend a minute and reread this silently and see what we have so far, because it might not make sense yet. Ooh. Did anybody just read this first paragraph? Look at all of these inventions that we forgot to mention when we were writing that letter, people. We forgot to mention about computers and cell phones. Those were huge things that technology from space exploration has helped us with. As I continue reading, and I don't know why that space is not deleting. It's making me mad. There we go. As I continue reading, it looks like it actually kind of naturally flows into talking more about new technologies and better technologies. So that's actually pretty good. The thing that stuck out to me that was kind of short and didn't have a lot of support is this thing about restaurants. Okay, and I'm getting a person asking me to make this a little bigger, so maybe I can. Uh-oh. Hold on. Let me try to make this a little bigger so you guys can see this if you're having a hard time. Okay, that should be a lot bigger for you now. I should have done that from the beginning. Sorry. Okay, so this, as I was saying, this reason right here about restaurants either needs to be deleted or it needs to have a lot more meat behind it. So as a group, I'm going to let you guys decide what you want to do with that. If you want to add more about it or if you want to take it out. Because as I continue to read the rest of the speech, you're talking about great inventions that have come from space exploration. So that's fantastic. Any questions on how to make this speech a little better? Turn your microphones back on.
Well, I think I know, Miss Bruns.
Okay, go ahead.
You see, if we didn't have satellites, then we wouldn't have like computers or TVs or cell phones.
Sure. So you're talking more about the technology that we get from continuing space exploration. So yeah, you're definitely supporting one of these reasons that we see here in our speech. Why is that space not deleting? Darn it.
And satellites are also good for you need it for like navigators and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So for navigational purposes. So speech group, you can add, and maybe I'll just make this comment so you guys don't forget. Let's add more about the inventions and either delete or add more detail about that argument about spending money on restaurants. I'm not quite sure what we meant by that because I don't think the government really funds any restaurants that I know of. But why am I spelling so bad today? Tyler, go ahead. You have a question.
part of the reason why our technology is pretty good is because scientists are making things like rockets and better technology to get signals from space, and they're making and they're releasing stuff like that into the public and making our technology better.
Great. So yeah, you're giving more reasons that should be listed in this speech. And just a little hint for everybody: this next video is going to help you with the conclusion that you would need. Going back to all of these different videos that you see here on the left-hand side, all of them are very good and will all help you. Speech group. Obviously, speech group, we don't have all day to sit here and watch them. But if you are part of the speech group, I would suggest spending some time doing that. Okay, so looking at our rubric so far, let's see what we would give this group as a grade on these last two categories. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Hold on. Undo. And let's zoom in just so that we can all see it. All right, so our world-class outcomes. Did we have both sides of the issue acknowledged, data and evidence to support? So far, I think we're kind of lacking in our data, so that those people who are focusing on world-class outcome number 2, we need to get some data in there for sure. I do think that we have good reasons so far. We have some reasons to support our ideas, but we probably need to add some more evidence. And where do we find that evidence? In our resource bank. So this is where you would go and pull out facts and opinions to put in your speech. Okay? All right, now, obviously, like we did last time, I want you to just kind of think individually about what, if you are part of the speech group, what you've done so far. Are you ranking as a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1? And I'm not going to call you out because, you got other classmates in the virtual classroom with you, but you know if you've done anything or if you've been working with your group. So personally. Hopefully you are all at a 4. So microphones back on. Do we have any questions from the speech group?
Miss Bruns?
Yes.
Can I read it?
Well, which part do you want to read, Adam? Because we're gonna kind of move a little faster here so we could get to the play group. Do you want to maybe read just this last part that you wrote about President Obama? This part?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, go for it.
Could you make it a little big, please?
Sure. Okay, so it should, well, it's taking a while. There it goes. Okay, go for it.
Okay. President Obama, we are in need of more funding for continuing our space exploration and providing us with more funding. We will have access to more discoveries and studying planets. This helps us to learn more about Earth and other planets that have not been yet discovered. By your support for funding, this will help astronauts and scientists. This will also help create new technology, faster weather signals. It will help create rovers to study other planets that are out of our reach. And having more funding for space exploration also helps to give better technology to give us warning about meteors and comets. Please respond to the Jupiter group team ASAP.
Okay. Yeah, and actually, since we're not really working in our Moon, Mars, and Beyond teams anymore, we could probably take that part out. Just because this is a general speech, remember, our audience is to our entire community members. So instead of making this to President Obama, maybe we can make this to our city council. What do you think? What do you think, Adam? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just making it better. Just we're just improving our grades along the way.
Yes.
All right, Jaden, do you have a question? Oops, sorry, I just muted everybody. Jaden, go ahead. I thought you had a question, but maybe not. All right, let's move on to our play group. All right, so if you are part of the play, you're going to see your work coming up right now.
Miss Bruns,
Yes.
I'm part of the play group with Clara, and we've only gotten a little bit of the play wrote, and we haven't gotten that much.
That's completely fine. If you've noticed, the last two groups haven't finished either. And that's why we're going to have a couple more days to add some of our parts and then individually meet on Monday with just our group, either the letter, speech, or play.
Okay.
Hey, Lucas, go ahead.
So when I was reading through the play, we've been talking about parts and stuff like that for the play.
Yeah.
And I noticed that somebody wrote for my part. I don't know who it was.
Oh, well, that's part of that whole collaboration piece that maybe somebody was trying to help write your part. And Lucas, if that is your particular line that you would be saying, then you can definitely go in and change it,
Okay.
or tweak it a little bit. But maybe they just had an idea for you.
Oh.
I don't think anybody was trying to be rude doing that. So
No, I don't.
yeah. And I know the play is actually kind of confusing, the most confusing one to write, because you guys have to have, all of these different parts, and you have to have dialogue, and that makes it a little bit more confusing. So I helped you out by adding where the scene was and by being the narrator. And I think I'm going to go in and I might add a couple more narrator parts, so you could just consider me as the narrator for the play.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead,
Actually,
David.
and bless you, Adam, for that
Thanks.
sneeze.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
That was very
But I also have another thing to say.
okay.
Can I go now because I'm a part of the letter group?
No, Jaden, actually, I think it would be really nice if you could stick around and help us look at the rubric, because the other group members stayed for
Okay.
you. What do you think?
Just asking. I
Okay.
was just asking.
Yeah, that's great. Claire, go ahead.
Actually, why Lucas's line is different is because me and Clara started writing it because we tried emailing the boys and they never got back to us, so we just gave them parts and then started writing it.
And sometimes that's the kind of thing that happens when you're working with a group and collaborating. That's another good lesson in check your email every single day. And just another thing, writing comments actually on the document, so that everybody can see them on the document, is sometimes kind of helpful. Okay. Yes, Lucas, go ahead.
I was trying to get the role of the play of Jack, or that's what I emailed one of the girls for.
Sure.
So that I was Jack, the 13-year-old, and all that stuff.
Okay.
So that's what my character is. I was told.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, and we all had different characters. That's great.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, just like we've done with the other two groups, is we're going to learn a little bit about a persuasive play. And obviously, all of the same thing applies. All of these videos are really good for the play group to watch. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. So
How does the playwright build suspense in Little Red Riding Hood? In this lesson, you will learn to describe how a playwright builds suspense by using clues in the setting, stage directions, and dialogue. We've been reading the text Little Red Riding Hood.
Well, no.
It's a play or drama. In the play, the playwright builds suspense. Suspense means a feeling of tension or uncertainty about what's going to happen. It can be almost uncomfortable waiting to see what is going to happen.
So in our play, it should be kind of uncomfortable as the parents are arguing about space exploration. That's what's going to make it kind of tension filled in our play.
Suspense can be especially powerful when it seems like something bad is going to happen. We might say, uh-oh,
Like
each
a
time
fight.
a clue suggests that something bad might happen. It's like, imagine you're watching a scary movie. You know there's a monster behind that door and you're yelling for the character not to open it. Will they? That's suspense. Step 1. Identify a spot in the text where you get an uh-oh feeling. Step 2. Circle clues that hint something bad might happen. Step 3. Ask yourself, why do these details make me wonder what will happen? Step 4. Say, the playwright builds suspense by blank.
Okay, and we've actually already answered that question. We know that the play is going to be suspenseful as soon as the parents and children start kind of jumping in and arguing both sides of the topic. Okay, so I know we're running really short on time now. Looking at the clock, we have about 4 minutes. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That playwright group, notice that I have linked those videos for you. And I think that will kind of help you along your way as you continue on your play. Actually, I don't think we have anything to change so far because we already have our setting and we have our narrator and we already know what is going to be suspenseful um, as the play continues. So one thing you're going to need to just wrap up the play with some kind of conclusion. Either the parents agree to disagree, or the one parent who is against space exploration changes their mind and starts to believe, changes their mind and believes that space exploration funding is a good thing. Okay. So far, looking at that rubric, I unlinked that. Sorry. So let's go back to my rubric, or I closed that, I should say. This group, I think, has a really good start on the last category here of everybody participating. Okay, so I think everybody in that play group is definitely up there in the that 4 range. Make sure that both viewpoints are acknowledged, but here's what's going to make it a 4 for my playwright group. You need to have some data. So that parent who is arguing for space exploration actually has to have some concrete evidence in there. Okay. So I'm going to turn your microphones back on and ask if we have any questions so far.
Nope.
No?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, so by Monday,
Nope.
today is Thursday, by Monday, make sure that you have added something to your product. I would, if I were you, I would go to whichever one of these I'm working on. I would watch those videos and then I would maybe add or change my part just a little bit based on my new learning. Yes, Jaden. Oh, Jaden, no question, huh? We're just kind of going crazy with the camera. Maybe we could turn that off for now. What do you think? Okay, perfect. Okay, and then on Monday, let me just remind you, we're going to meet individually. So if you are writing the letter, 9:30 to 10. If you're writing the speech, 10 to 10:30. And if you're writing the play, 10:30 to 11. So that way we can really just dive into just your product and make it really good. I'm hoping that by next Thursday, maybe we'll be ready to present these final products. We'll just have to kind of see how we're doing. So, yeah, that's all I have for today. Any questions?
No.
No? Okay,
No.
well, pat yourself on the back, guys. You have done a really good job. And this is tough work. This is a different way of thinking. You've never had to go and pull evidence out of a resource bank before when you're, writing different persuasive products and whatnot. So this is really good. And it's hard. So give yourself credit for the hard work that you're doing. All right, friends. Well, that's all I have for today. So you have a fantastic Thursday and a great warm weekend. Stay inside. It's going to be really cold. And I will see you on Monday.
And I'm
Bye.
exhausted.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Bye.